Hey everyone, my name is Josiah. I'm the current engagement lead, and this is my second year on the team.
My name is Duncan. I'm the current engineering and team lead, and I've been on the team for 4 years.
And welcome to the Robodogs Unveiling 2021. As we do in all of our unveilings, we will be going over what we have accomplished over the previous build season. This year in particular, we had to put a lot of hard work and perseverance to accomplish our tasks. However, that did not stop us from banding together and pushing through to succeed. During this unveiling, we will be showing off many things. These include our chairman's presentation, our game design presentation, our robot presentation, a montage of our robot for the year, upcoming events, and various awards.
But before we get into the meat of the show, we'd like to take a moment to give out a special thanks to our sponsors. This year, our sponsors were Storage King USA, Emerson Automation Solutions, Teleflex, Intuitive Foundation, Duke Energy, KBI Biopharma, and last but not least, NASA. Thanks again to each and every one of you that made this year possible. And so let's get right into it, Josiah.
This year, one of our biggest accomplishments was our chairman's essay and presentation. For the first time in a very long time, we had every member on the team helping out with chairman's in one way or another. Through this, we were able to yield an essay and presentation that everyone was proud of. Since we are sure that most of you don't want to see the whole essay, we thought we would show you the presentation instead. My name is Josiah. I am the current engagement lead, and this is my second year on the team.
Hey, my name is Duncan. I'm the current engineering lead, and this is my 4th year on the team.
Hi, I'm Samuel. I'm the future engineering lead, and this is my 3rd year on the team.
So let's get right into this. So we are the oldest team in the state, which of course means we've had plenty of opportunities to engage with the community. And throughout the years, we've taken members from all across Wake County. I mean, even now, our team has people from all over. We've also had plenty of opportunities to make a name for ourselves in First, partially through our robots and gameplay. I mean, we've made it to Worlds 15 times and even won once in 04, and partially through our engagement with First as a whole. We volunteered for First several times. Even just last year at the Wake County event, we had several members volunteer for field disassembly. We also have a significant history of team members going on to work with First and volunteer regularly.
So the last few years have been particularly challenging for the Robodogs, the pandemic, of course, being one of the biggest of those challenges. Thankfully, the small team size has helped with scheduling in-person meetings with the rotations, but it's definitely produced challenges in other areas. Although we have managed to handle these complications quite well, they still existed. One instance of us handling communication particularly well is we've had the most coordination between divisions ever, really. Engineering members have helped with this presentation, the chairman's essay, some graphic design. The engineer and the engagement division has helped with shop organization and robot design ideas. Through our effective use of the tools at hand, we've transformed the team for the better, I think, as you will see.
As previously mentioned, communication was one of our most difficult challenges this year, and we've used a few different apps to overcome this challenge. We've always used a dedicated web forum to push out and discuss major updates and decisions. This year, it's also been used as a discussion board to maintain continuity between the two small in-person groups. We also produce regular newsletters to keep parents and sponsors informed of our progress. This has been incredibly helpful to keep everyone outside of the student circle informed. Speaking of the student circle, proper communication inside of it is essential. Zello is a tool that has been used in previous years as a walkie-talkie for the team to communicate at competitions. This year, it's been repurposed to allow efficient communication between online and in-person members during meetings. Zulip, not to be confused with Zello, although we do confuse them often, is the app that we have been using to communicate with the rest of the team quickly and easily. It's an app that lets you create different channels and streams for different topics where you can instant message similar to just texting. Trello, once again not Zello, I know it gets pretty confusing, is a digital Scrum resource. Last year, our team lead implemented a Scrum board to help everyone keep up with their tasks. Engagement relied heavily on the Scrum board last year. This year, since we are not able to be all in person to use the physical Scrum board, we've been using Trello so that everyone can cooperate to keep up with their tasks. As most people have been this year, we've been using Google Meet for our online meetings and Drive for all of our documents. While other teams have had to get used to using Google Drive, We've been using Google Workspace apps for our documents for several years, which has enabled a smooth transition to an online workspace.
Also, an important aspect of the Robodogs is the separation of the Foundation nonprofit from the first team. This provides a clear barrier between the intricacies of running the Foundation and the students' responsibilities. With this barrier, students are mostly left to their own devices when making team decisions, necessitating strong leadership. This organization builds that leadership and strong cooperation between students, and that's speaking from experience.
Okay, so the team structure has also lent itself very well to the team's continuity, with a lot of the mentors being team alumni and a structure that has been around for a while now. We've never really had to reinvent the wheel. Veterans and mentors always do their best to teach the rookies everything they'll need to know. We also have very extensive archives. Rather than just throwing away all of the previous documents and resources, we've kept everything in the Google Drives. So our future will know what we have done and how we did it. This is very helpful for reference, for education, and for continuation of projects that may span over multiple years. The Google Drive is extremely accessible and will be available for as long as the team is. We also have plans for videos about how the team works, the tools that you would use for the robot and for engagement workings, and the history of the team in general.
Outreach and engaging the community are some of the things that we pride ourselves on. We try and seize every opportunity we can to be able to bring STEM and the morals of FIRST to our community. First Night Raleigh is something that we did a couple years ago to kick off the new year and demo our robot, to try and inspire younger kids to want to be engaged in STEM. Around 10,000 to 15,000 people were at First Night Raleigh when we went. First Night Raleigh is one of the events we are looking forward to doing again soon, whenever the war comes back up. We presented our robot at a STEM Saturday in Wake Forest to around 300 people, and we volunteered at a code camp and used that opportunity to demo our robot. We frequently try to keep the community updated, as well as our sponsors, which is where social media comes into play. We use apps such as Facebook and Twitter to share info on how to donate, or just post goofy stuff that we thought people would like to see. Community with things outside of STEM, as we always want to help and engage wherever we can. The last couple of years, we have helped decorate a Christmas tree for the Gifting Tree project by the town of Cary, and we bought and decorated a Christmas tree for Storage King because they let us use the team space for a fraction of normal leasing rates in our area. While this year has brought us some difficulties with being able to engage with the community, that has not stopped us yet. Recently, we have performed an online demo for York Elementary School and are striving to do more. We're also excited about the creation of a web series that we have been working on involving our Robodog mascot and the robot for this year to teach a younger audience about STEM and FIRST, as these children are the next generation of STEM scientists and innovators. And that was our chairman's presentation. Thank you.
So, like we previously said, the chairman's presentation is something that we are really proud of this year. But there's another presentation we're particularly proud of as well. You see, this year, due to the pandemic, FIRST introduced a completely new challenge to try to include everyone, even those teams that couldn't build a new robot this year. That challenge was the Game Design Challenge. Now that's a project where you have to come up with a completely new game, like the games like Infinite Recharge. And you have to do it completely from scratch. And to add on to that, another part of the challenge was including a literal chain as a game element, like a literal chain link.
This was another task that brought the entire team together, and something that we are very proud of. We would like to introduce to you Circuit Board Chaos.
Hey there, my name is Duncan. This is my 4th year on the team, and I'm the current engineering lead.
Hello, I'm Samuel. I'm the next engineering lead, and this is my 3rd year on the team.
Hi, my name is Josiah. I'm the current engagement lead, and this is my 2nd year on the team.
And this is our submission for the Game Design Challenge, First Short Circuit. So let's get right into it. So, the game, Short Circuit. So, planet Earth has been hit with a solar flare, and the power grid is down. Alliances will race to fix the grid before power runs out. Robots begin on the grounding line, as pictured in red on the field shown. And during a 15-second auto, robots can score by driving forward and placing a single chain element, what we're calling a wire, between 2 nodes, and can retrieve a battery from the center of the field. Once teleop begins, points are scored at a rate of 1 per second per wire, with each battery enabling another 3 wires to score. up to 3 batteries, and 9 wires. If maximum power generation is active during the end of teleop, a ranking point is gained. And during the teleop period, alliances can connect a wire to the vertical nodes on the back of the wall of the opposing alliance's side to act as what we're calling a fuse and disable 3 of the opposing alliance's wires. Once endgame begins, what we're calling the surge stage, alliances can depress their switches and connect their fuses, if they had already, in order to earn additional points and gain a ranking point.
Due to the pandemic, our meeting times in person has been heavily limited, only allowing 2 small groups of 3 at a time. Normally, for design collaborations, we use a large whiteboard, and that is currently not an option, so we use Google Jamboard. Google Jamboard is a tool that allows collaborative drawing and writing. It effectively acts as a whiteboard that can be used online. This was important, allowing us all to brainstorm collectively and come up with many unique designs. On the right, you can see a few drawings from different theme ideas we developed, including Circuit Board Chaos, which was later rebuilt into Short Circuit. Only one design was moved forward with, but a few elements inspired final elements. For instance, the theme park game inspired the switches with a drop tower element that involved pulling something down during endgame as opposed to climbing. Circuit Board Chaos decided was best, fitting into first STEM ideals. It was apparent from the beginning how the chain element could be used in a circuit board theme, as wires. With this in mind, we moved forward in developing a story to fit alongside the theme. We figured that with connecting wires, we'd be building a circuit, and from there, we wanted to come up with why teams would be doing that. So we followed suit with Infinite Recharge and decided that we'd be repairing something, particularly a power grid. Of course, most sensibly, a solar flare would disable a power grid.
Now let's talk a little bit about the design philosophy we had when making the game. So, when designing the particulars of the game, we wanted to follow one simple principle: risk versus reward. We wanted teams to have to strategize thoroughly before matches, far more than what has been done in the past. The game was meant to be one that not only emphasized skillful driving and playing, but required and rewarded good strategy to a higher degree than games past. This is exemplified in every aspect of the game. For example, it must be decided whether to place the fuse during the teleop period to limit the opponent's scoring, or to save it for the endgame for a ranking point. Also, when placing wires, teams must carefully evaluate how each placed wire restricts their and their opponent's movement. On the right, you can see a field with different strategies and organizations we drew out as an example. And as you can probably tell, we wanted to design something unique. We wanted an entirely new game with a completely different feel than anything played before. This began at the physical game elements. The wires are clearly something brand new, as well as the batteries, which are an odd shape. Not only these two, but the endgame switches must be physically compressed. The individuality of the game doesn't end there, but of course in the strategy and gameplay. The field is constantly evolving with each wire placed, and a critical part of the gameplay is navigating through the field during endgame.
Okay, so I designed most of the way that the game would work. So now we wanted to design how the game would be built physically. So we specified some dimensions of certain field elements, such as the nodes being 8 inches tall and chain being and the wires being 5 feet long with little plastic hoops at the end to connect to the nodes. We also came up with the gauntlets, which are pictured at the left and right of each alliance maze, which slow down robot movement to discourage avoiding the mazes unless absolutely necessary. To fully realize the design, we built pretty much everything in a CAD software that we use called Onshape. We were able to design every individual piece, which helped us get a better idea of how the field would work and what it would look like. And we were finally able to show you what the game would look like here. So that was the game design presentation. Thank you.
Presentations aren't the only thing we've done this year. As you all know, we've been building a robot this season, as we do every season. However, this year, we were not able to build an entirely new robot. Due to COVID-19, First was not able to create a new, unique game this year.
So, instead of creating a completely new robot, we decided to make some major modifications to last year's robot and improve it as much as we could. Now, to give you a little idea of what we were working with and what the robot actually had to do, we're going to go ahead and present to you the game animation.
Welcome to the 2021 First Robotics Competition, and this year's game, Infinite Recharge! An incoming asteroid shower is aimed at First City. Using Alliance droids, planetary citizens collect and score power cells, while traversing the trench run and boundaries to ensure maximum protection with an operational shield generator. Droids start on an initiation line and may be preloaded with up to 3 power cells. Droids operate autonomously during the first 15 seconds and attempt to score power cells into any of their 3 available power ports. While every power cell deposited adds equal charge to the shield generator, higher power ports earn more points. Drivers then control their droids for 2 minutes and 15 seconds of teleoperated time. Power cells are collected from one of the 5 chutes in the loading bay, and then driven across the city to be scored in the low, outer, and inner ports. Droids must score the required number of power cells to activate sections of their shield generator, and then either rotate their control panel a specified number of times, or position it to a specific color. Near the end of the match, droids race to their rendezvous point to make their shield generator operational. Alliances are awarded bonus points for a level generator switch. The alliance that earns the most points wins the match. May the Force be with us all.
As most people have this year, we've gone through many challenges and strife. We are no exception, as you'll see in the following presentation. Still, we managed to build a pretty fantastic robot.
Before we continue, I do just want to give a little shout out to you guys in Zulip. I see Sabrina, Isaac, and Miss Miller. It's great to have you here. Anyways, so building this robot, there were a lot of pretty interesting challenges that we hadn't faced before. It required some unique innovation and, some crazy solutions. And I think we delivered. So, without further ado, send you right to the robot presentation.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Colton. This is my 4th year on the team.
Hello, I'm Hope, and it's my first year on the team.
Hello, I'm Sam, for my 3rd year on the team. Gosh dang.
And I'm Duncan, and this is my 4th year on the team. Now let's get right into it. So, this year was obviously an unprecedented year. A lot happened in terms of the pandemic specifically. And so, as a result of that, we had to limit the amount of in-person work time we have and limit the amount of people in each meeting, in-person meeting. And of course, we followed all proper protocols, all CDC guidelines. We always wore masks, and now we're in a much better place. But back then, we were not. So we had to limit the amount of people we had, in turn, resulting in limited man hours. So knowing that from the outset, we decided to, instead of building a completely new robot from scratch, modify the robot from last year, using the robot from last year's chassis, building a new launcher and other mechanisms on the robot. And so, to begin with, we're going to be talking about the climber. Now, it's not on the robot right now. We plan on getting that done very soon. But on the climber, as you can see in the presentation, there are a few points of interest, including the pistons, which drive the climber itself. They're very large, 21-inch throw-length pistons that are able to reach the generator switch when it's level. And if you'll see, there are hinges below the hooks, and those hooks are what obviously grabs onto the generator switch, but when they're up like that, they're out of frame perimeter. So what those hinges allow them to do is fold down and fit under this bar, and when they raise up, they pop back out, and that allows us to fit in the frame height. And then, of course, there is the intake in the back of the robot. It's driven by a mini-sim. It's basically just a conveyor belt that compresses the ball against a piece of polycarb here and brings it all the way up into the reservoir where it gets prepared to be launched.
Speaking of launching, the launcher has two main driving forces. So it has the pivot system, which is basically moves the launcher up and down on a central shaft driven by a very high torque motor at the bottom. The secondary system, the launching system, where the Neo down here drives through pulleys, these large PVC tubes up here, which spin very fast, and then when the balls contact them, are shot out in the direction the launcher is facing. And of course, they are fed in by this small intake tube here. Now,
So this year for the drivetrain, to focus on speed and agility, we decided to use Mecanim wheels driven by sim motors. The motors are driven through two Toughbox Nano gearboxes mounted on the front of the robot and two Toughbox Classics on the back. To ensure that the wheels are low enough to enable the robot to overcome the obstacles on the floor, and because we opted to use two different size gearboxes, we had to mount the Nanos at a slight 7-degree angle. You can see this to the image on the side. We decided to use two different types of gearboxes because we already owned all but one of the Classics, which reduced our material cost significantly. This is especially useful in a year where it has been much harder to get the necessary funding. For the drive code, for the drivetrain has also had to been altered due to the change in wheels. A lot of work was put into updating the code to incorporate the use of gearbox encoders and different sensors to improve reliability and accuracy in our control of the wheels. Specifically, we used encoders, a supersonic sensor, and a gyroscope sensor to record and calculate the position of the robot. This feedback is used to help the robot drive more precisely. There's also a pre-programmed movement correction, which takes the speed of each wheel and checks it against the others to make sure each wheel travels at the correct speed during auto mode. For the control of the wheels, we decided to have the joystick be programmed to use exponential acceleration, so the more we tilt the joystick, the faster the robot goes.
And continuing in the programming section of our slide, we have the trajectory mapping. With this, we focused on using gearbox encoders on the ends of gear shafts on the drivetrain and the pivot shaft for the launcher. This allows us basically to calculate and record data on the acceleration and speed of rotation of those parts of the robot, and it allows us to adjust basically the speed of wheels and stuff like that if we need to. And this is very important for like auto mode in case we hit a bump on the field and we need to make a precise adjustment for what to correct a error. Right. And next we have vision tracking, which is a really exciting thing because it's a brand new thing that we're trying this year, and it's going to take, well, it did take a lot of time and effort from our code lead this year, but I would say it was well worth it, if only just focusing on the experience of working on something like that. Because of how much computing vision tracking requires, we had to mount a separate Raspberry Pi on the robot because the standard system that we have on the robot isn't adequate enough to carry the computing loads that vision tracking requires. And by adding a vision tracking system on the robot, we can make our launcher more reliable and also just in general a lot better. We saw it at competition last year, and it's something that's really exciting to add to our robot. Alright, that is the end of our robot presentation. Thank you for watching.
Most years, we do our unveilings in person and show off the robot in front of a live audience. As you can see, we haven't been able to do that this year, except for our one audience member, our cameraman, Mr. Kemp.
So instead of doing the live audience, what we've done is stitch together a little montage video of showing off the functions of the robot. So, the moment you've all been waiting for, the robot in action. And we actually intentionally included that blank spot to build anticipation.
Most years, we do our unveiling. While this may be the end of this season, that does not mean we will be stopping during the off-season. We may have plans for various outreach events involving engaging with the community, reaching out to potential sponsors, or trying to recruit members. Recently, we performed an online demo for the students at York Elementary School and showed off what our team does, a little bit on how it operates, and most importantly, the robot. We had a lot of fun with that and are enthusiastic to do more. Along the lines of outreach, you may know that we have been working on a web series involving our mascot and the current robot. We're planning for the series to be shown to elementary and middle school students to help them engage in STEM.
So that's what we're looking forward to. But now I do want to take a moment to talk about an award. So one thing we have announced before, but we'd like to announce here as well. The Dean's List Award. So the Dean's List Award is for the recognition of a sophomore or junior that has shown outstanding leadership and dedication to the team this season. Now, this year, we're going to recognize a member who has shown outstanding perseverance and independence throughout his research and work while developing his skill in his craft, Isaac Burgess. Isaac, thank you so much for your continued excellence and hard work. We really couldn't do it without you.
And that concludes our first and hopefully last online unveiling ceremony. But before we head out, we'd like to throw out one last thank you for the rest of our members and their families.
So, thank you so much for your support for the team and for being a part of this incredible family we've built. Really, this year has been surreal, but thanks to everyone here, we've survived and we'll live to build robots another day. Yeah, thank you so much. Good night, everyone.